Hello, hello, and welcome to the From Nature to Nurture podcast. I am your host, Danielle, and I am so excited to bring you episode 15 today. This is also the last episode of 2025, which is just crazy. I was making vision board plans with some friends for a couple weeks from now and reflecting on what I put on mine for this year, and starting a podcast was on it. So it was kind of exciting to see something so specific come to fruition. My vision board this year was mostly just like vibes that I wanted of the year. Like it's a lot of flowers, it's a lot of really good food, because this year was just going to be different with me changing my business and some family stuff. So I didn't put a lot of really specific goals on my vision board except for the podcast. It was the only one. So it was really exciting to see. Yeah, I've been planning more episodes and more interviews for this coming year, so keep listening for all of that. I have some really exciting new people to be interviewing this next year, but also today's episode is an interview. So I met Jennifer Maklan last year at the Mid-South Women's Herbal Conference, and if you are anywhere near Northern Alabama, I highly recommend attending this conference. It was amazing, so many great instructors and classes I also taught, but Jennifer's energy is just so warm and gentle and inviting, and I immediately loved her, and I was really excited to speak with her on the podcast because she has some really interesting knowledge. So, Jennifer Maklan is a licensed massage therapist as well as an Ayurvedic practitioner. She helps women experiencing perimenopause, menopause, and aging with joint pain, sleep disturbances, anxiety, and moodiness. Her unique educational background is steeped in ancient wellness methods as they are practiced in India today. Jennifer educates clients through Ayurvedic consultations. She provides massage, body therapies, and cleanses to balance the body and mind. She sees clients in downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee, as well as online. And you can find more information about her at www.perimenopausemassageayurveda.com. So let's get to the interview. Hi, welcome, Jennifer.
You.
Great. I'm so excited to have you here. We've been trying to coordinate this for a long time, and I'm really excited to kind of dig into your field and your expertise.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
So why don't you tell everyone who you are, a bit of your background, and how you came to be where you are today?
Yeah, well, that's a lot. It was a journey. My name is Jennifer Maklan, and I'm an Ayurveda practitioner, and I am 49 years old. And that is kind of relevant to the conversation because I work with women in perimenopause, primarily going through the menopause transition. And anyone interested in Ayurveda, really, but you know, mostly women who are in that time of life are coming to me for services. And I got into Ayurveda when I graduated from college in 1999. I was having panic attacks and anxiety, and I didn't want to take pharmaceuticals. And so I tried a lot of different things. I tried the macrobiotic diet. I tried the master cleanse. I felt like food was important to my healing somehow, but I couldn't quite place it. I couldn't, I just didn't know at the time what to do. And so I was working in a nutrition store at the time, like a health food store in New Hampshire, and that's where I grew up. And my yoga teacher recommended that I see an Ayurveda practitioner who was coming into town. And so I went, not knowing anything about what it was, but it was life changing for me. Meeting with him was life changing, and then the diet itself was life changing. I was doing what people think is healthy, what we are told is healthy. I was having a lot of salads. I was getting like exercise every day. I was also waitressing, so I was working nights. I was working a lot. I thought like I was checking all the boxes. But what I learned in Ayurveda is that for my body type, I was doing all the wrong things. I was over exercising. I was overworking myself, getting too much physical activity, and I was, eating, eating too lightly, eating salads, raw foods, things that are cold. All of this was contraindicated for my type, which is a Vata type, which is, tends to be on the light side, too light. So we need like heavy things to ground us. And so that was like just that change alone was really remarkable for me. I really felt like grounded in myself in a way that I'd never felt before. So yeah, I was like, wow, there is something to this. And then I was also recommended some body treatments. And one of them is called Shirodara. Have you heard of this? No.
No, I
Okay.
haven't.
Okay. So in Shirodara, warm oil or other liquid is poured over the forehead and the third eye area of the body, and it pours for up to 40 minutes. So you lay on a massage table, your eyes are closed and covered, and then this warm liquid is slowly pouring in a continuous stream over your forehead. And
For 40
it's
minutes?
40 minutes.
Pouring the
Yeah.
whole time?
Yep. So it
Wow.
saturates the top of your head, and it's just so soothing. It's really incredible. It's used for mental imbalances. So imbalances of sleep, anxiety, nervousness. It's used for jet lag, high blood pressure, mm, all kinds of different things.
I can see that
And
for a Vata type too, because it is like kind of like pulling you back down since Vata is like so airy. So, yeah,
mhm.
pulling you back down. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that treatment was like, wow, it was just incredible. And the panic attacks never came back. And so I was thrilled and I was hooked and I was fascinated. And that's kind of where my journey with Ayurveda started. So I at that time, so it was 1999, there like the internet, like I don't even think I had an email account. I like had one through my school, through the university that I graduated from, but I don't think I had my own. I know I didn't have a computer. And so all the references that I found for Ayurveda were in the back of textbooks. And about 10 years later, after going seeing this Ayurvedic practitioner for a couple times a year, every year, and feeling more comfortable in myself, more grounded, and healing starting to happen, um, I uh, I realized that like there's no presence. Like Ayurvedic practitioners are hard to find, and I decided that I would build a website for Ayurveda practitioners and create a directory and a blog and a place where like a hub where people could find Ayurveda. And there were a couple directories out there, but they were like the National Ayurvedic Medical Association, which they're a professional organization, and their presence on the internet is better now. But back then, if you were looking for a practitioner in Houston, Texas, like their directory wasn't coming up in Google search results. So I thought I could do a better job with this, and I'm going to work on this project. And I worked on it for a couple years. I grew a pretty big Facebook community of 10,000 or so. And I had great organic content on my blog. I had 30,000 visitors per month on my website. So people were interested. And I went to an Ayurveda conference and met a company from India there, a skincare company who asked me their opinion about their what they were doing, and I gave them my opinion, and then they were like, "Wow, this is great," and they were interested in my site and they wanted to hire me. So they ended up purchasing my website, hiring me, and I ended up working for them, which was a real blessing. So I had regular work in Ayurveda, and started working on their blog and editing articles for them that were written by practitioners in India. And this was exciting because I got to see like how many things Ayurveda could help with. And these articles, they were writing about different diseases, and they were writing about certainly like wellness, but the diseases really struck me. Like, okay, Ayurveda is in India, they are treating diseases. And here in the United States, it's complementary medicine, and certainly the educational level for the educational training for Ayurveda here in the United States is not equivalent to what is happening in India. Yeah, I was just like blown away. Also with the system of Ayurveda that there's like a way that how do I describe this? This is always a challenge for me. There's a way that Ayurveda is practiced, and there's formulas. There are reasons why things are recommended and things are not recommended. There's contraindications and indications. There's a real structure to the system, which I liked because what I felt like was what I was seeing in the wellness field, and this is true in some respects and not true in some respects, is uh, that you can sort of select things on your own, but you don't know if things are going to work or not. So you can go out and try, a sauna, but you may not know if that sauna is actually going to be helpful for your condition. Or you can go and try a cold plunge, but that it may not bring healing to you. So that's what I liked about Ayurveda. It was like, okay, if you're like this, if this is your body type and this is your imbalance, these are the things that you do, and it's very specific. So I never thought I would become a practitioner, but I lost a boyfriend to suicide, and um, and I decided then that okay, I need to do this because I know it can be helpful for people. There's not enough practitioners in the United States that can utilize Ayurveda, um, and people need it. So yeah, so that's how I got into Ayurveda and got to where I am today. So I've been seeing clients for 5 years now, and my training is yeah, I've been trained in the United States. I'm getting ready to travel to India in November. My fingers crossed
It's so
to do some.
exciting.
Yeah. I'm going to be in a hospital setting, like wow, with my mentor. Fingers crossed. Um, and yeah, so really seeing how ailments are treated. And I work with a mentor currently to see clients. Cases are very complex. People come with on multiple medications. They may have multiple diagnoses, and so to unravel, what are the natural things to do for this person? What is the diet for this person? It can be tricky sometimes. So I often check in with my mentor, make sure that I'm on track, and yeah, and so the figuring things out is also very exciting for me.
Wow, that is so cool. I love that you worked with the Ayurvedic practitioner for yourself for so long before you were like, okay, maybe I should look a little deeper.
Yeah.
You got the full experience. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I love that I did that too. And I learned a lot in that process. I was young when I started. I was in my 20s. I did not know how to live well on my own at that time. That's when you really see like the lessons that you didn't get as a child. Like, okay, like I don't know how to cook. And I didn't know that I needed to go to bed at a certain time. I mean, there was like a lot of like daily routine stuff from Ayurveda that was really helpful for me. Like, okay, go to bed at this time, have meals at regular times every day. I think a lot of people don't get that lesson unless you have children. Once you have children in life, you learn like, okay, I need to keep a routine, or pets. Yeah, so if you have children or pets, that's when you really learn that a routine is super important. Otherwise, I think people, think that they are invincible and can kind of do whatever they want, but you have to like live with the day. That's so important.
That actually goes exactly into the question that I wanted to ask you,
Okay,
which
cool.
was, how does Ayurvedic living look like for you on a daily basis? Like, what's a general routine, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that is a great question. Gosh, and how do I answer it? I am not great at following an Ayurvedic routine. I still see a practitioner of my own, and I consult with a couple different ones. I have found that practitioners trained in the United States are really, really good with routine and diet, but not so great at helping when there are imbalances in the body. And practitioners that are trained in India or with Indian Vajas, they call them, they are better trained to handle imbalances in the body, but because the training is so rigorous, it is, they don't learn to live the lifestyle as well as those people in the United States. So you may have heard of Dr. Lad, Dr. Vasant Lad.
Mhm.
He's well known for bringing Ayurveda into the United States maybe 30, 35, 40 years ago. And he runs the Ayurvedic Institute. So his practitioners, his students are just so grounded and so living the lifestyle. And it's something to envy, I think. He is, it's such a blessing what he's done. And I think people tend to think of it as he's taught Ayurveda to these people, but because my training is based in Indian Ayurveda, or it's more aligned with how it's taught in India, I see it as like he's really taught these people how to live appropriately. Because from my perspective, they're not so well versed in healing with Ayurveda, but they know how to live a very solid lifestyle, and that's admirable. And I see it in all of the students, all of the people that studied with him. It's just, yeah, they're so grounded. Anyways, so so what is my routine?
I know you said
um,
you had some diet changes that you incorporated.
yeah, yeah. So I very closely follow like what where my doshas tend to be. And so a routine in Ayurveda should always follow the imbalances. It's not something that should be sort of like I get up and do oil massage every day. Some days oil massage may be contraindicated. So yeah, so you have to sort of do what's best for you, and that routine should be changing with the seasons and as your doshas change. So today, I'm having warm milk with some ghee and cinnamon as my morning beverage. Um, yeah, but that routine really changes. I try to get to bed by 9 p.m. That's sort of my own personal cutoff time. Um, and in Ayurveda, they say by 10 p.m. is best. I try to wake up early, but I sleep in if I didn't sleep well. And that's also an Ayurvedic principle that's really good to follow. So if you haven't slept well, it's likely that your colon is not ready to empty its contents in the morning. So so usually I'll sleep in a little bit, especially this time of year at the end of the summer. Um, in the summertime, vata and pitta can accumulate in the body because it's so hot, it's so dry, or the heat is kind of drying, even though it's very humid. So vata and pitta can really become unsettled. And I feel like like getting a little bit of extra sleep this time of year is helpful for that.
I can totally feel that too, where this time of year I do feel like I need more sleep. And it is a lot harder for me to fall asleep. Um, I know that I feel like I'm just like a sensitive person where when we have the changing of the seasons, it really throws me off. I am majority Pitta, and so I'm going through a big change in the seasons. Um, but along those lines, can you kind of break down in your own words the different doshas and what people often misunderstand about them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's three doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And these doshas, they, I guess one thing that people misunderstand is that they think of them as body types, and they're not really body types. Um, they form body types, but the doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, they are functional principles in the body. They perform different functions in the body. And so when they're in balance, they are performing their functions properly. When they're out of balance, they're not performing their functions properly. And we're all born with a certain level, a certain ratio of these doshas. Each of us, just like kind of like they say in Chinese medicine, we're we're born with a certain ratio of the five elements. And these five elements organize themselves. They work in unison with each other in different combinations to form the doshas. So Vata is formed of air and space, Pitta is formed of fire and water, and Kapha is formed of water and earth. And so Vata being air and space, it governs all forms of movement in the body. And Pitta being fire and water, it governs metabolism and intelligence and heat management in the body. And Kapha being water and earth, it forms all fluids and structure within the body, the bones, the joints, the muscles, all the mass of the body is formed of kapha. And so, yeah, so we're all born with a different ratio of these things, which gives variety in people and variety of expression. Um, and uh, and when for example, the ratio that I am born with, I myself, is Pitta Vata. Pitta primarily, Vata secondarily, and I have very little Kapha. So that is balance for me.
I'm the same.
And
I'm the exact same
oh,
set. Yeah, that's me.
okay, okay, yeah. So when there's imbalance, I can have an imbalance of any one of those doshas, and it's most likely that because I'm a Pitta primarily, that I will have imbalances of Pitta. But I can have an imbalance of any of those three, or any combination of those three, of all three, or of two. So a lot of different things can happen. And then health, of course, is a matter of bringing those doshas back into balance. Yeah.
I love that it's all about balance. Like
Hmm.
balance is not talked about in modern medicine at all.
Hmm.
And that's one of my favorite things about Ayurveda is that it's all about just trying to find your unique balance too. It's not treating everyone the same. I know when I was first looking into Ayurveda years and years and years ago, um, that it was so hard to find information that was undiluted, I guess you could say, where it's not mixed with like um other systems.
Mm.
Where they would use like Ayurvedic phrases, but they would still use more of like a allopathic medicine mentality. Like it was really strange. So it's cool to see that there's more people coming out that are like really sticking to the tradition because Ayurveda is so old and we should honor that. Like that wisdom goes back centuries and it's so important to not lose all of that because it can get really muddied down and you lose that magic. It's like that beautiful balance that is so ingrained in that culture.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned all of that. Um, yeah, Ayurveda is all about balance, and yeah, it's just really a fascinating and wonderful system. And as far as like mixing it with other traditions, I see that too. And I can't do that. And I was not taught to do that. I was taught that that's not a correct way of looking at the body. I only have Ayurveda training. I'm also a massage therapist in Tennessee, but I don't have any Western training. I'm not a Western medicine professional, so I can only look at the body through the Ayurvedic lens. And I'm grateful for that because I think when people start to mix things, it kind of gets messy and it gets, at least in my mind, it gets confusing. And then, it is ancient. So there are, and some of these ancient techniques are used in modern day medicine, believe it or not. Um, but um, but yeah, mixing the two, I think personally it's best to have different providers rather than a specialist that sort of blends a bunch of different modalities, because then that specialist that person is perhaps not a specialist in any one. So yeah, I always recommend that my clients are seeing a medical provider too, because I don't have the training that they have in India. It's similar, but what they do in India is much more extensive. And in India, they are considered doctors. Ayurvedic, they are called Ayurvedic doctors, and they do actually can prescribe pharmaceuticals. So yeah, they have a minimum of 5.5 years of training. Here, we don't have access to that yet. Maybe at some point, but yeah, I don't think these things should really be mixed by one professional. I think seeing multiple providers, an Ayurveda practitioner, a medical provider, a nurse practitioner is an excellent way to go, because then you have your bases covered. You have you have that diagnostic perspective and treatment from Western medicine, and then you have the ancient wisdom from Ayurveda on the principles of food and lifestyle, and the personalization from Ayurveda, which is so fabulous. I had a client, for example, that she had a thyroid disorder. She had Hashimoto's, and she had weight gain she wasn't very obese, but she had some uncomfortable weight gain for her. Um, for like 15 years. And she told me that she tried so many different things and could not get it, could not, she tried all the usual things to get the weight off, and it wasn't coming off. And so we made a few changes to her diet, not many, just a couple. And she took some Ayurvedic supplements, and she lost about 10 to 12 pounds. And which was good because it was consistent. Like, she looks fantastic now. Um, she looks more like her body type. And yeah, and she has that uncomfortable weight is gone. And one of the dietary changes that we made is that she stopped eating fish, which in Ayurveda, fish is, a lot of people don't know this, but we're taught here that fish is healthy for all people. It's light, it's tasty, it has all sorts of good fats. But in Ayurveda, fish is aggravating to kapha, so it is can help promote weight gain. So she stopped eating fish, and for her, that was the best thing for her weight loss.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I know Ayurveda can be kind of overwhelming and have a lot of different elements. Like we kind of talked about, there's some different body modalities, there's food, there's supplements. So what are some ways that you help your clients integrate Ayurveda into their modern life without it feeling so overwhelming?
Hmm. So I try to take people like one step further than where they are right now. So everybody's in a different place with their health journey, and to expect people to follow some strict regimen is, I think, is not helpful. So I take people from where they are now one step further. So, for example, for people who are um, eating out once a day, maybe they're a busy professional and they have lunch, at a restaurant every day of the week because they're too busy to cook for themselves. I ask them to cook on one day on the weekend. And we do a reset meal, usually a dal or a khichdi, whatever's appropriate for them. Something that is easy to digest, that will help get their digestion back on track at least once a week. And and then that's all they can do. That's all they can do. A lot of the power with Ayurveda comes from the supplements and the body treatments and the cleanses. So when food adjustments alone for a lot of people are not going to be enough to make a change in the body. So the supplements are really needed. And then there's some general guidelines that all people can follow. And so I recommend those. And I'll tell you what they are. They're really simple. So Ayurvedic food combining guidelines, these are really important. And you can Google these and find good information about food combining. When there's weird food combinations, you are not going to digest that food properly, and that food is going to hang out in the body as undigested food waste. And we call that ama. So anytime there's ama in the body, it can clog the body channels and it can create a lot of different types of problems. Achy joints, digestive issues like constipation or diarrhea, low backache, headaches, just a general feeling of not being well. So ama it's a unique concept to Ayurveda, but it just makes a lot of sense. If you can't digest the food that you eat, it has to go somewhere. It stays in the body, and we have to find a way to digest that, and we digest it with herbs. That's how it's taken care of. So yeah, and then the other guidelines are very simple guidelines around eating. So no snacking throughout the day is really important for most people. For some people, it could be helpful, but for most people, snacking is problematic. Anytime you eat before the previous food you've eaten is digested, you sort of just keep putting food in there. um, you you're kind of hampering the digestive process. So the colon, the digestive system operates best when you've got food in there. It's put in there all at once. You sit down, you eat all of your meal within 20 minutes. You don't take an hour to eat very slowly. You just concentrate on eating, you focus on eating, and you get it all in there. And you're calm, of course, and your emotions are in a good place. And then you let that food go through the digestive process. If you keep putting food in, your body's like, hey, oh, I got to start all over again. So you let that meal go through digestive process, and then when you're hungry again, that's when you eat. A lot of people just aren't even following this very simple thing. I even talked to a woman the other day, and she said she was doing intermittent fasting. I said, oh, what were you doing? She said, I stopped eating at 7 p.m. and I had my next meal at 10 a.m. Like, oh, so you were eating properly. That's not a lot of, there should be a gap in between meals. And so, I don't know much about intermittent fasting, so I can't really comment on it, but last meal at 7 p.m., next meal at 10 a.m., that's pretty normal from my perspective. Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of like good little tools in there. We've already touched a little bit, but I want to switch to some different Ayurvedic practices that can help us with the seasonal changes.
Hmm.
Um, or even just touching on like, if you have like a favorite one for each season. I know that everyone's a little different because of their different dosha makeup. But can we speak a little bit about seasons?
Yeah, definitely. This is a really great topic Um, because seasons are, I think we're taught that, we have four seasons everywhere that we are. But in the Ayurvedic texts, there are anywhere from 2 seasons to 6 seasons. And I think here, especially in the southeast of the United States, we don't have a typical seasonal profile of spring, summer, fall, and winter.
I think we
I
have six.
You think we have
I
six?
go
Oh,
I go with six personally, yeah.
okay, interesting. Well, I haven't lived here my entire life, so I feel like my thoughts on this are still forming. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So I grew up in New Hampshire, which has four seasons, four distinct seasons of spring, summer, fall, and winter. And sometimes spring is like a blink of the eyes. It barely happens. But the changes of the seasons are pretty dramatic. Here, we definitely have two seasons. We have a hot season, we have a cold season. I think we have a rainy season here. And then Ayurveda recognizes a season after the rainy season. So after the rains end, there's a particular heat that happens. It's called Varsha in Ayurveda, and this is after the rainy season. So in this part of the country, there is a good deal of rain. I think in like May. So is it May or March?
It'd be like, yeah, April, May kind of
Okay,
time. Mhm.
April, May. Yeah. Yeah. So after all of this rain comes, all of that rain, it creates moisture on the earth, and then it's hot. And so it's extra steamy after the rains end, right? It's extra steamy. So the heat is intensified at that time. And during that time, that is the best time to cleanse Pitta dosha. And Pitta is responsible for inflammation, all forms of heat when it's imbalanced, and hot flashes, night sweats, diarrhea, rashes. People in the Southeast, especially women, men too, but I'm seeing mostly women. So yeah, especially when they're approaching perimenopause or menopause, and in that time of life, Pitta is naturally elevated. So yeah, so all of these things can be, you know, rearing their ugly heads. Yeah. So yeah, after the rainy season in Barsha, which I don't know what we would call it in the United States, but that is perfect for cleansing pitta. And um, and then the other doshas really, let's see, kapha can be cleansed in the spring because kapha builds up in the wintertime. So in the winter, it's cold. So we have more hunger in our bodies because the cold sort of insulates our heat within us. And so that hunger builds up and we naturally want to eat more. And this is the time when we should be exercising more and eating more. Um, and so um, and so kapha can build up during that time because we're consuming more. And so when spring comes and it starts to get warm out, that kapha that has accumulated starts to melt. And this is the time of year when we can have um, spring colds, fevers, things like that happen. So this is the time to cleanse kapha. Um, Kapha in Ayurveda is typically cleansed with this is a little controversial. It's cleansed with a process called vamana, which is therapeutic vomiting. This is not done by me. I have seen this happen. I've participated in this in my clinical rotations, and this is done in India. But I don't do this process. But this is classically how it is done, how kapha is cleansed. And this is not a process for everyone. Certainly, I've never gone through it. It's not indicated for me. Um, but there are people who would benefit from this. Yeah. So yeah, that's when kapha is cleansed. Another nice process that can be used for cleansing in the springtime is called nasya. And nasya is something that I do. It is what happens is it's a head, neck, and shoulder massage, and then steam is applied to this area, and then warm oil drops are placed into each nostril, and that helps loosen the kapha that's within the head from the sinus channels. Um, and then and this process is done over a series of days of can be up to like 7 days. Every single day the person comes in, to have this treatment done. And every day, that number of drops that are put into the nose is increased. So we're starting with maybe 25 drops in each side, and we may go up to 100, 150 by the end of the week in each nostril. And then all of that sort of cleansing, those drops, like when they at the beginning of the week, they sort of uh, I don't know how to say it. They touch the surface, and they start to bring up what's there, and the person will have an urge to sneeze or to blow their nose, or to spit. And so, all of this phlegm comes up, all of this kapha, when it's imbalanced, is phlegm and mucus. And so all of that comes up. And then over the course of the 7 days, sort of those passages get more and more clear. And then the oil that's put into the nostrils, it starts to have a different action. It starts to sort of lubricate the nostrils at that point, and can be very nourishing too. So this is a nice process. Yeah, which is not so severe as therapeutic vomiting.
Yeah, I haven't heard of either of those. And those, yeah, vastly different ends of the spectrum.
Yes, right, right. Again, I don't do this vomita thing. Cannot be done by me. So yeah, if somebody wants that, I can give recommendations. Or if somebody needs that, I would give them a recommendation of where to go to get that done. But it's not something I can do.
That's so crazy.
Yeah,
I love it. So unique.
yeah. And it's actually not a process of that is actually difficult. So when a cleanse like that is done, this process is called panchakarma. And during panchakarma, this is a 3, 5, a 7 day process. It can be even longer, where the client ingests an herbal ghee every day in the morning, to help lubricate the tissues. It softens the doshas, loosens the doshas from the tissues. So those doshas start to circulate in the body, and they travel back to the GI tract, where they either accumulate in the stomach or they accumulate in the colon below the belly button. So if they accumulate above the belly button, that's when the vamana is done. So they'll come out of the body through the upper channels. And if they accumulate below the belly button, we'll do something called a virechana. And this is a process where an herbal formula is taken, and then it produces several bowel movements. Yeah. So depending on where the dosha accumulates at the end of the cleanse, this is how it's released from the body. And really the difficult, challenging part is taking that ghee. So once the body is like, after so many days, you've had so much ghee in your body. um, so it makes the process of doing these cleanses pretty easy. And so the difficult part is really taking the ghee.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The texture,
Mhm.
I love ghee, but the texture, just having spoonfuls of texture of the, ugh, no.
Yeah. 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 So this is a process that should always be done with a professional and never tried on your own. It's called panchakarma, and you can read about it online. In the United States, there's a lot of sort of modified versions of panchakarma being done, and they're actually they're not, they can cause problems because they're being done like in a spa setting, or they're modified so much so that people can sort of have a taste of an Ayurvedic cleanse, but they're not really an Ayurvedic cleanse. And so they're not indicated for some people. So in the United States, what a lot of places are doing is you go in and you have a massage and you have some ghee, and you may do this for 3 days. And then at the end of those 3 days, the client makes an enema, an herbal enema decoction, and they give themselves an enema. Um, Enemas are done in Ayurveda, but not like that. They're very different. And so, yeah, this whole process that has become popular in the United States is really not a classical way of receiving a cleanse in Ayurveda. They wouldn't do it like that in India.
And that's what I
Yeah.
was saying earlier, is that people are blending
Yeah.
totally different ideas together. And it's one thing for someone with like their own being as like the client to blend, from different practitioners, but yeah, the real medicine comes from when the practitioners are like true experts in their field and they have their own like zone of genius that
Mm.
you can go deeper into instead of these like mini diluted versions of these traditions.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Hmm. Mm.
So are there any particular herbs or practices right now that you are personally loving?
Yeah. So herbs and practices that I am loving right now. So I have been making my own decoctions at home. So because of the shipping challenges right now with the tariffs, some products that I use very quite often have been difficult to find in the United States, which is a real bummer. Um, and this is a really nice way, a place where Ayurvedic practitioners and Western herbalists can sort of could really help each other. Because it'd be great if I could find substitutions for the things that are used in India that I can't find here. Some things I can find, but there's a lot of things that I can't. Um, so yeah, that's is like a place where like a nice overlap could happen. But yeah, making these decoctions is something that I've been enjoying. It's taken me some time to learn what to look for. Like in my early days when I was first making them, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if this is right," but but now I'm like, "Oh, this is beautiful," and I've made it, and it's fresh, and yeah. So I'm making one today actually called Drakshati, and Draksha is a grape or a raisin, and this particular formula is used for pitta. So it's used for hot flashes and night sweats and that kind of thing. And I've been having some, not quite breaking into a sweat at night, but like getting warm at night, throwing off the covers. My husband's like, "What is wrong with you?" Yeah, so I'm making kashayams, they're called. Kashayams are decoctions. And I'm making drakshati. It has raisins and other cooling herbs, like amalaki or amla, which is high in vitamin C and is also known as gooseberry. You may be familiar with that. There's a gooseberry that grows in the southeast. And what else does it have? Raisins. It has an herb called musta, which is cleansing to the GI tract. It cleanses pitta from the GI tract. To me, it's musta, musta, and it just kind of smells kind of musty. Yeah, so it's good for pitta too. And what else does it have? It has yashti, which is licorice, which is has a nice demulcent effect for the GI tract. Hmm. And what else does it have? It has vetiver in it, which is I think also called nutgrass, which is cooling and smells lovely. And then it has sandalwood in it as well. Um, yeah,
I
red
don't think I've ever heard of
sandalwood.
someone consuming sandalwood before.
Hmm. Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know the legalities of that in the United States, actually, consuming sandalwood. Definitely, tree barks are used in Ayurveda. Some tree barks for consumption. Yeah, some woods are used for consumption. Yeah, but you make a decoction out of these things, and you strain it, so you have the nutrients from the substances. Hmm. Yeah,
Fun. That sounds really good.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Um, Yeah, and other Ayurvedic practices I'm loving. Like being in nature is something that I have to remind myself to do because I'm on the computer a lot doing work. But this is like a wonderful Ayurvedic practice that I'm trying to lean into, because it's just so good for a Vata Pitta type to spend time in nature, just to absorb those qualities, to walk barefoot in the grass, to be cooled by the cool air. Right now, it feels really good for a Vata Pitta type. So that's one practice I'm leaning into. Certainly following the food combining guidelines is something that I'm always trying to refine. And it can be a little bit challenging. Like some of the big things to do are eating fruit alone. Fruit should never be combined with anything else. So then you have to be like, oh, you have to consciously decide, okay, I'm going to have a piece of fruit and nothing else, which that can be challenging. And then, if people are cooking for you, or if you're going out to eat, sort of finding things that work with these food combining guidelines, it can be done, but then you do have to be a little bit picky. But yeah, that is one thing that I'm always trying to lean into. And my husband does not like these guidelines. He is a pitta, pitta, pitta all the way. So he has the characteristics of a classic pitta. He got bald early in life, and he's very intelligent. He enjoys public speaking. These are all classic signs of pitta, pitta body type. He gets frustrated and irritable and impatient often. And I have to remind him to calm down, cool down. And another classic sign of Pitta, he likes to mix everything together. Like he will be like in the kitchen. He's got like, oh, I'm gonna make this and I'm gonna like throw this in there and that in there. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? And I do this sign where I like as if I'm like mixing a mortar and pestle with my hand, like you're mixing it all together again. I try to tease him about it to help him along, but he really just he wants to do what he wants to do. So I just let him. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to get your partners to do your thing isn't always the easiest. Mine is the same way.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to try any herbal concoctions. I have to like sneak herbs into food and then like make sure that it's really powerful so like the other food's really powerful so we can't taste it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you got to do. I mean, these are the things we do with children too, right?
Yep.
Sneak them into the food. Yeah.
Partners and children, one and the same.
Hide the broccoli.
How can people know when it's the time to look for an Ayurvedic practitioner?
hmm This is a good question. So I think personally, I've got a lot of answers, a lot of different answers. So um, I think Ayurveda should be utilized by anyone and everyone as soon as possible. So the younger you are getting into Ayurveda, I think the cleaner your body is going to be. So Ayurveda, one thing that Ayurveda does really well is it's one of its goals is to keep the body channels open and clear so that things move through the body as they should. So anytime the body channels become blocked, whether you cannot smell or cannot taste, or your hunger is low, or or there's constipation, or the menstrual cycle is not flowing as it should. These are times that you should seek out Ayurveda, or definitely seek out attention to these things. You should not wait until a disease comes. If something is imbalanced, if something is not working properly, if you don't feel right, you should get to the doctor and get to an Ayurvedic practitioner. Um, and yeah, so certainly when you're young, that's a great time to start Ayurveda. Also because the older that you get, and I'm talking like when you get into your 70s and 80s, and I do have clients at that age, the treatments that you can do that your body can tolerate, becomes less. So things can still be done, but what some of these body treatments like panchakarma cannot be done at that time of life. So definitely start young. And um, what else should you get to an Ayurvedic practitioner? When you're making food changes to your diet, when you've recognized that certain foods aggravate your diet or aggravate your symptoms, I'm sorry, and you are continuing to make food changes, dietary changes. Maybe you've stopped eating gluten, or you've stopped, I don't know, you stopped eating nuts, or you cannot at all eat raw food, or um, you have a sensitivity to tomatoes, whatever these changes are, and you're having to live this lifestyle that is so restricted. That is a good time to see an Ayurvedic practitioner. So especially if you make these changes and your symptoms don't go away. A lot of times people are thinking like, oh, like, I've got this problem. Maybe it's because I'm eating this. And they make that change and they've still got the symptoms. That's a good time to work with an Ayurvedic practitioner because then the gut is off and the gut is not working as it should. And Ayurveda, its first sort of go-to place is to address the gut for a lot of reasons, because that gut is the sort of how the body is built up. When you eat something, if you don't digest it properly, it's going to create problems. If you do digest it properly, it's going to build your body properly, and your body's going to function properly. So, yeah, so that's really important.
Perfect. So, for anyone who's getting really excited and wants to start incorporating some different Ayurvedic practices today, what is one thing that they can do that should be all right between all of the different dosha types?
Yeah. I would say if you want to start with Ayurveda practices, one of the
Herbs.
best, I'm sorry,
Or herbs. I don't know.
herbs.
Yeah,
Okay.
practice or herbs, whatever you want.
Okay. Yeah, this is great. A great question. So I would say, um, definitely start with the food combining guidelines. So because Ayurveda is natural, we are always trying to get people back to health naturally. And that means that you've got to be able to maintain that health naturally. So if I give you some supplements to take for your hot flashes, and those hot flashes go away, but you continue to eat poorly and not follow proper guidelines, and you continue to drink a lot of alcohol every night, those hot flashes are going to come back, um, because you're not following a proper lifestyle. So I would say keep a routine, um, keep up with your health, get to the doctor when you need to, and start with those food combining guidelines, because those are going to make a big difference. Um, and um, and I would also say, like, learn to be reflective on your own health and your own challenges. Take some time to reflect on a regular basis of, what am I doing in my life? Is it serving me? And also, I think it's helpful to work with a therapist. I think a lot of people can benefit from working with a therapist. And I have found that people going through Ayurveda, because there's so much habit change, that they often need some emotional support. Or maybe we've discovered that there's alcoholism in the family or addiction in the family. In so many families, there's addiction issues. And so I think it's important to work with a therapist or to work with a 12-step group. Those can be really, really supportive for people. So getting like emotional support and following a proper lifestyle, proper diet with these food combining guidelines. This would be a great place to begin.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Jennifer. Can you let everyone know where they can find you and find more information about you and your work?
Yeah, so I am located in Chattanooga, and I can be found online at perimenopausemassageayurveda.com. Kind of a mouthful, but it's good for the SEO. If you search for perimenopause massage Chattanooga, you'll probably find me. And then I'm on Instagram, and I'm having a little fun on TikTok. so you can find me there. And I'm on Facebook as well. Yeah, for perimenopause massage Ayurveda.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so very much. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate your time and your interest and all the work that you do. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And that was my interview with Jennifer. I hope that you enjoyed learning about this ancient tradition. It goes back thousands of years and is so fascinating. I love how much information that Jennifer has and that she was willing to come and share it with us all. So check her out if you'd like to learn more about Ayurveda. If you would like to find out more about my upcoming classes and offerings, you can find me at rootandwandercollective.com. I'll see you along the plant path.